What's up, everybody? This is Jake Wynn, public historian, and I am very excited to be able to announce that I'm going to be doing a new project over the course of 2026. It's just going to focus on the first year of the Civil War, 1861. And so we're going to be doing a series of posts that are going to look at letters written by soldiers at the front lines of the Civil War and sending those letters back to their hometown newspapers across Pennsylvania's coal region. And they are doing this from basically the immediate aftermath of Fort Sumter and the first soldiers marching off to Washington, D.C. and to Harrisburg and joining the United States Army at the very beginning of the Civil War. We see these letters being sent home to tell family and friends, and in some cases, coworkers in these newspapers about what life is like in the Army at the beginning of the Civil War. This series is built upon a previous series that I did called the Letters from War Project, which documented the World War II correspondence of a soldier from Pine Grove, Pennsylvania, named Irvin Schwartz, and what he experienced during the Second World War. He wrote more than 50 letters to his hometown newspaper. And so taking that inspiration and bringing that back to a time period and a conflict that I'm fascinated with, the Civil War, and looking at the first year in particular, 1861, as the conflict is first breaking out. And there's a lot of misconceptions about what this conflict is going to be and what modern warfare is like in the mid 19th century. People on the northern home front, people across Pennsylvania's coal region, expected this to be a very fast conflict. They expected to march south in their militia units, essentially pretty poorly trained, and go off and beat the secessionists, beat the rebels in the South, and end the Civil War and end this conflict very quickly. Of course, they're going to find that it's going to be a much more difficult conflict, one that's going to take 4 years for secession and the rebellion of the Confederacy to be put down. This series is going to look at the letters that these soldiers from the front lines wrote home to their hometown newspapers, and it is going to show what these soldiers experienced as they are first marching off to war amid war fever in April and May of 1861, training for war, what they experienced in the army camps at places like Camp Curtin in Harrisburg and Camp Slifer in Chambersburg, or in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Capitol, at the Navy Yard, and in Alexandria, Virginia, and eventually onto the battlefields in Virginia as well. And through these letters, which are going to run from April of 1861 through December of 1861, we see an evolution of the conflict from a conflict that everyone believes is going to be over very quickly. These units initially sign up, volunteers are going to sign up for 3 months. And at the end of those 3 months, they're going to have to go and enlist for 3 years in the late summer and fall of 1861, realizing this is going to be a much longer, bloodier, costlier conflict. And through these letters, we see these soldiers coming to terms with that, of what it's like to be in the army in this time period, to train for war. They talk a lot about the food that they're going to be eating, the shelter that they're in, whether it's tents or makeshift cabins, how they're going to be experiencing the war, their first marches, as well as drilling for 8, 10, 12 hours a day to learn how to fight like a 19th century army. It could be training from being mine workers and printers and farmers. All of the professions all across Pennsylvania's coal region are very well represented in all of these different units that are coming from these mining towns across that swath of northeastern Pennsylvania, from northern Dauphin County through Carbon, Schuylkill, Luzerne County as well. And through these newspaper accounts, the letters that are published in those newspapers, we get to see the Civil War as these soldiers experienced it. And also as the readers of those newspapers experienced the war as well. And those newspapers where they're absorbing all of the news of the conflict and the political situation at the time as the country is devolving into this massive conflict, we're going to see the conflict through their eyes. We're going to see what happens basically day by day, month by month, and then also throughout that first year of the conflict. So All of that to say, I'm very excited to announce this Letters from War 1861 series. If you want to find all of these letters and subscribe to get them right in your inbox, you can go to winninghistory.com. You can subscribe, and then you'll see these letters will be coming out over the course of 2026, and you can experience the American Civil War through the lens of these soldiers and their experiences during the conflict. Hope you'll tune in for that. I'll be back with more videos in the future as well, probably some talking about these letters as well, and what they tell us about that time period in American history. This has been Jake Wynn, Public Historian. I'll see you over on winninghistory.com for the Letters from War 1861 series.